Hello everyone, Snickety here.
And I'm Zubatticus. I'll be tagging along for this video.
Oh, and I'm Sachi.
Doki Doki Literature Club is a difficult visual novel to talk about, mainly because a lot of its impact relies on your expectations of the genre. The game initially presents itself as a visual novel dating sim. You take control of a protagonist as he joins the literature club, a club that is filled with cute girls, each of which has their own romance route. If this premise sounds a tad generic, well, that's very much intentional, as the game slowly reveals itself to be a deconstruction of the genre.
Doki Doki was developed by Team Salvato, who was one of the best Link mains in his region for Super Smash Bros. Melee, and playing Doki Doki definitely feels like getting bodied by a sadistic strategic Link player. Sadly, we can't say anything else without going into spoiler territory, so if this genre is something you're a fan of, you're in for a real treat. Click off this video right now and go play it. It's on Steam and it's free. It's also pretty short, around 3 hours long, so you really don't have much to lose.
Just please make sure to come back to this video when you're done, because I need that watch time, you know? So yeah, go now. We'll be delving into the spoiler section next, where Zubatticus and I will be analysing the game.
Well, don't keep watching the video, pause it and go play the game.
Yeah, what he said. Hey Zubatticus, where are you anyway?
What are you talking about? I'm right in front of you.
Oh, I get it. You're the disembodied first-person perspective.
Pretty much.
Okay, you back? Good, good. Now, wasn't that a terrifying game?
And if you didn't take our advice, you're gonna regret it.
Oh, fiddlesticks.
Doki Doki is a classic bait-and-switch story, very much in the same vein as Madoka Magica. It's the kind of story that would not exist if not for its genre. In this case, the visual novel, specifically the kind that has multiple routes and goals, or boys if it's otome, for the player to romance. It's a genre of escapism that hasn't really been subverted and played around with much.
There have been rare exceptions though, Kimi to Kanojo no Koi being a good example. If we're talking more mainstream games that play with the interactive medium, then Undertale, Stanley's Parable, and Pony Island are in a similar boat.
Firstly, let's dive into this genre and establish some normality, or rather, what's considered normality within the genre. Dating sims often have a cartoonish, sugar-coated reality with idealized characters. Yes, they will often have flaws like real people, but there are many desirable traits about its cast, because that is ultimately their point, to be desirable to the player.
And this game starts off no differently. You have the option to romance Sayori, the airheaded childhood friend, Yuri, the reserved bumbling girl who likes to read a lot, and Natsuki, the tsundere. Finally, there's Monika, the lit club's president and mature, laid-back leader.
Yuri reminds me of someone, but I can't quite put my finger on who.
Oh, I think I know. That girl with the glasses. You know, the librarian chick from that show.
The one always dropping stuff, right?
Yeah.
You guys haven't forgotten.
Yamako Reedman from Read or Die.
That's the one.
These are the characters you want to spend time with. They're an escape from the complex relationships of real life, that often aren't as simple as saying all the right things to advance their route. The idea of the dating sim is that you get a cast of adorable characters and you get to choose your favourite. Ultimately, their entire existence is to fall in love with the player. However, Doki Doki poses an interesting premise. What if these characters knew about their superficial existence?
The first sign this isn't your typical dating sim comes around the halfway point in the game when the character Sayori is revealed to be suffering from severe depression.
If that was the only twist this game pulled, it still would have been a good one, especially since everything that came before it, while being very formulaic, was actually pretty good. Too good, in fact. It really didn't need to be this good. If you had played an hour of this game, you'd be forgiven for thinking it was a normal, albeit cliché, visual novel. But anyway, the story doesn't stop with depression. Sayori later hangs herself in an extremely shocking scene.
You can't load from a previous save to try to rescue your childhood BFF, and Sayori has completely been erased, so the game restarts without her. But its horrifying nature doesn't end there. It's only the beginning. Soon the character Yuri becomes psychotically obsessed with you, and characteristics that seemed innocuous in the previous playthrough now take on a sinister nature.
From this point on, the fourth wall begins to crumble, and glitches draw attention to the fact that this is just a game. The final act of the story is very reminiscent of the Psycho Mantis fight from Metal Gear Solid, only taken to the extreme. Every character is deleted except for Monika, who reveals herself to be manipulating the game, and has fallen madly in love with you. Not the character you play in the game though, you. She traps you in an empty void where it's you and just Monika. The fourth wall ceases to exist by this point, and you'll need to find the game's directory to advance the story. The game's files are also where you can read other ominous messages left by Monika. It's an experience that can only exist on PC.
Doki Doki is one of those games that completely destroys any sense of immersion in the second act of the game, and becomes even more engaging in doing so. It's fully aware it's a game, and does all it can to mess with you as the player, and because of that you grow even more attached to the story and the characters than normal. Instead of just starting up the game and interacting with the world, Monika does all she can to reach out to yours as well, and it no longer becomes a one-way interactive experience. I mean, technically it still is, but it doesn't feel like it.
And hey, it might even make you appreciate your own world. Because what Monika truly desires is the freedom outside of her own. Free will and the ability to choose one's own path are a luxury not afforded in this game's scripted world. The player, on the other hand, has that freedom. This game is the opposite of escapism in a sense. It's turning the very point of the genre on its head in the most shocking of ways. The character of Monika is fascinating. She's both this game's villain and main heroine. She's dissatisfied with her status as a side character with no romantic root. To give an example of the kind of character Monika is meant to be, think Satsuki from Tsukihime.
Oh boy, Snickety, that's an obscure reference.
I can't help it, I love Tsukihime. She's a dark reflection of a character with no agency of her own. She is bound by a story she plays no significant part in, and is surrounded by those that do. She's actually incredibly sympathetic in this regard.
Monika essentially has an existential crisis and goes mad with power after becoming self-aware that she's in a game. She was never programmed to love, so she messes with the cast by adding undesirable traits to pull the ultimate notice me senpai move. But by doing so, she's also adding depth to the other characters, so now you're not even really sure which aspects of each character were original or influenced by her.
To think all of this could have been avoided had they just given Monika her own route. Well anyway, let's back up a little and discuss the structure of the game, as it's quite interesting on its own. There's 3 acts to the game. The second begins after Sayuri's suicide, and the third when you are trapped in the void with Monika. There's no way to revert the game back to any of the previous acts without uninstalling the game, as your save data is deleted and the game is permanently altered. You can also delete your first run in the game's files, which will start you from square one.
This makes it quite annoying if you're going for the 100% as you're not able to skip the text you already read.
The second and third acts are where all the crazy stuff takes place, and there really isn't much the player can do from here. The plot is already in the hands of Monika by this point. However, the first act is rather interesting, because it's the only part of the game that functions as a normal visual novel would. It would have been easy for Team Salvato to get lazy here, but they really added a lot of detail to this first act that most players will miss on a single playthrough. There's a route for each of the girls, and how you get close to them is decided by how you write your poems.
This is the Literature Club after all, so you're expected to write a poem as homework. You have to choose 20 words for each poem, and each word will appeal to either Sayuri, Yuri, or Natsuki. The closer you get to each character will change dialogue and add new scenes. It's quite clever and inventive. Although, good luck figuring out which words appeal to each girl. They are linked to their personalities, of course, but it's a little difficult without a strategy guide. Getting all routes and CGs without triggering Sayuri's suicide will lead to a slightly happier ending, though.
Any influence the poem system has is completely gone in the second act, however. No matter which girl you choose, it will always end with Yuri stabbing herself, even if you do accept her confession. And how couldn't you? She is the very picture of sane. The second act is where the main bite of the game is, but it's also the most flawed aspect of the game as well. This part was a little too contrived for my liking. Why the characters become deranged makes sense. Monika has been messing with them and exaggerating their personality quirks. But the game also employs a lot of cheaper tactics to scare you. Monika tells you her tampering with the game has caused a great deal of glitches, but this just seems like an excuse to have weird creepypasta moments like this. But overall, Doki Doki Literature Club is a phenomenal game. Not just because it's surprising or shocking, it's also incredibly well written. And as much as it's a criticism of the dating sim genre, it clearly has a lot of love for it as well. You don't make a genre deconstruction this good without having some love for the source material.
It's an experience I hope surprised you all, and you didn't just watch this video without playing the game first. Now, if only more dating sims would take on a more subversive nature.
If you like this kind of stuff, check out the bad endings to School Days, which are the only entertaining part of that game. I've been SnicketySlice.
And I've been
And I've been Zubatticus, and hey, if you liked my voice or whatever, feel free to check out my channel. I do a lot of game reviews and rants over there mostly, but there are some pretty good jokes and game critiques every now and then. Also,
That's it! I'm sick of being a side character in your videos, Snickety! It's driving me insane! I just want to live out in the real world like you two!
I think your mascot character is having an existential crisis, dude.
Oh, so she is. Calm down, Sachi.
Do you know what it's like? Whenever you cut away from me, I cease to exist! It's not fair! And that's why I tampered with your editing software.
You what? No, don't do that.
From now on, this will be the Sachi show! First thing I'm gonna do is get rid of your guest, so it just be you and me, Snickety.
Aw, come on, that's not fair. You do a good job at existing, plus...
Oh, damn. That's no good.
Now, it's just us, for all eternity, Snickety. Now let's just stare into each other's eyes, okay?
Sure, Sachi. So I guess this is the SnicketySlice channel from now on, huh? Just us, not really doing or saying anything.
What? No! Why would you do this?
You okay, Zubatticus?
Oh yeah, I'm fine. Wanna go get a beer and play some video games?
Absolutely.
Have I found everybody a fun assignment to do today? When you're here, everything that we do is fun for them anyway.
I guess you weren't the worst employee.
When I can't even read my own feelings, what good are words when a smile says it all? And if this world won't write me an ending, what will it take just for me to have